talking like we won't make it out of here?
Yeah, I do.
I'm here with Phil Robb, who is co-founder and creative director at Turtle Rock Studios, and we're here to talk about Evolve, of course, because that's their big new game. I think the first thing I would like to talk about is, because you've had an interesting and slightly difficult few months with a lot of little controversies maybe, and the big elephant in the room at the moment is with the DLC, the pricing, what's included, how much is there, that kind of thing. Do you think maybe there's a breakdown in the communication about what's going on?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we try to address the thing about it is, of all the comments that we've sort of gotten about it, people seem to sort of approach it from a variety of different angles. Like, I have a problem with this particular aspect, I have a problem with this particular aspect, A, B, C, D. And they kind of clump it all into this one sort of like mega gripe. So a lot of times it's like, okay, well, what particular issue are you, what particular aspect are you taking issue with? And then it's usually just about clearing it up. So I think there has been, some confusion, in terms of what we do. I mean, we've, I think, been pretty clear from the beginning, but, a lot of times things will get misquoted, or whatever. I mean, there's a particular GameSpot article that I think did us a bit of a disservice, and, basically sort of misquoted Chris and took what he was saying the wrong way. And I think, like, over the past few months, people have been looking at that particular article and just parroting it back, And the problem is that it's not entirely accurate or really fair.
And I guess it's difficult to sort of correct that, because that statement is always going to be there.
Yeah, it's out there.
And it's difficult to overlay that. But, so just for the sake of clarity, what is free, what is paid for, what's the divide between the two?
Right. So so maps, any game modes that we come out with, any sort of features like observer mode or ranked play, any of that kind of stuff that's sort of big, overarching. That stuff you just get. And then as far as the paid stuff goes, the main things are the characters and monsters, which are a big undertaking, cost a lot of money, take us a lot of time to do. It's just it's not feasible for us to give those away. We're happy to say that what we started out thinking in terms of the DLC plan was, okay, we don't want to split the community up, right? Because there are a lot of games that do that, and I can understand, where a lot of the sort of skepticism comes from on it, because there have been games out there that have kind of, done it in not such a great way. So don't split the community. So that's why that last group is all free, and then in terms of the monsters and the characters, the nice thing is that there are going to be people who want to get them, and there are going to be people who don't for whatever reason. But the two can still play together, right? It's just I bring my action figure over to your house, and I play with them, and you play with your action figures.
Separate rooms.
But we're in the same. We can be in the same game together.
Yeah.
And so the mere presence of the downloadable content sort of enhances everyone's game experience. A lot of people have said, "Oh, we're just going to make them overpowered so that everyone feels like they have to buy them." That's not the plan. That is not what we set out to do. We set out to make balanced characters. The idea is that they're just a different sort of experience. In a little package of gameplay.
The other thing you've had going on recently is the open beta on Xbox One, technical tests on PC and PS4, and what kind of feedback have you had from this compared to the alpha test which you had last year?
Right. Well, we always get a lot of sort of feedback. In terms of this character is overpowered, this character is overpowered or underpowered or whatever. Fortunately, so coming out of the alpha, we saw a 56% win rate in favor of the monsters. A lot of people, were saying that Kraken was, sort of too buff. We looked at the numbers. We went, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So we tweaked the numbers, and then we came out. We went into the beta, and we saw that. Well, first of all, Kraken came out actually, I think, a little underpowered, so we're probably going to beef him up a bit. But the nice thing was that the overall win rate was 51.5% in favor of the hunters. So, you know, that's really close. We were like, yeah, that's awesome. The thing that's, you know, like we had 2.2 some odd million rounds played over the weekend. That's more rounds of Evolve, you know, that played than there ever has been in the entire sort of development cycle.
There's only so many games that you can have inside the studio, I guess.
Yeah, and so, you know, that was like a huge sort of wealth of data for us to sort of look at and make some balance changes. I think probably we're coming out of the beta, we're going to adjust the Wraith a bit. She had, I think, a really sort of high win ratio. It was like in the 70s or something like that. So, you know, when we see that, we're like, okay, need to tweak her back a bit.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of, before release, this is kind of like the last opportunity that you have to adjust those things and put it into like a day one patch kind of thing. But how are you going to handle it after release? Are you going to have like quick fire balance updates, or are you going to wait?
No, well, I think, well, not quite sure, but I'm pretty sure we're planning on doing just like quick, you know, just push out number changes, because it's a relatively small size file. It's not, you know, terribly difficult to do.
And I guess that has then, for the community, that has the effect of showing that you are paying attention, you're trying to address.
Well, yeah, I
these
mean,
things,
and that's
so
always
people-
been the plan,
Yeah.
right? You don't just throw a game like this out there and just sort of like walk away. This is the kind of game that, you know, because I guarantee you, you know, as things will change over time, as people learn to play the game, right? As people get really good, you're going to see those numbers fluctuate all over the place. So, so yeah, we're going to be keeping an eye on it and fixing whatever we, you know, find needs fixing.
One thing that you'll have been very keen to hope goes well is like with the networking and matchmaking and stuff, because that was something that wasn't very smooth with the alpha. I mean, has that been okay? Do you feel that you're now prepared for a launch and the like capacity that you might have to?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we're as prepared as we can be. Coming out of the beta, you know, we saw like a lot of improvements, particularly on the PS4. You know, you know, we saw a lot of improvements in like.
I think it would be impossible not to improve the PS4.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, me and my kids and I played like all weekend. We didn't have any problems. I think the thing to keep in mind though is, I mean, these systems, the complexity is kind of mind blowing in terms of, you know, I mean, we've got our end, right, but then there's sort of like the server end, and then there's sort of the first party end, and you know, all these you know, different entities have a system sort of attached to getting everyone, you know, connected, and it ends up, you know, being quite complex. So that's, I think, the reason why it's really important to do the betas and the alphas, right? Because there's just no way you can simulate the traffic, you know, that is going to be pushed through the servers, you know, as soon as you like flip the switch and potentially hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people want to play your game. You know? So, yeah, we've done everything we could to get it, you know, working good, and I think we're feeling pretty good about it. But you know, if we launch and there does happen to be some hiccups or problems, you know, we're going to have our guys, like, I mean, they're going to be, that first week is going to be interesting for the network team, and, you know, the live team, and they're going to be there, and you know, they'll whip out those fixes as soon as possible.
And like, with regards to the matchmaking, like how have you tried to balance for teamwork between strangers? That's I think that's really quite an interesting problem, which you'll have had to like have in the back of your mind all the way through development.
Yep, for sure. I mean, so we've got, in terms of like the way we're doing matchmaking, right, we've got a preferences system, right, and so when we try to matchmake in, if you have monster set as your #1 preference, we try to find matches that, you know, want a monster. And then, you know, we look at your level, which is basically just, you know, sort of as you play, you level up and stuff like that, and that's your player level or whatever you want to call it. We look at that, you know, and that gives us a rough indication about how many hours you've got. We try to match you there. And then in terms of like communication, I mean, that's a tough one. When I played, you know, over the weekend, you know, I had some matches where people were talking, and I had some matches where people weren't. In the matches where people were talking, we had a great time, you know what I mean, and you know, we were more successful against the monster. In the matches where people weren't talking, it was more of a challenge. And the thing that I found was I just ended up talking anyways. You know, because as far as I could tell, they didn't have me muted. Because I would see the players sort of like reacting to what I was saying.
Yeah.
They didn't know, you know, they didn't know it was me, right? I didn't, like, I'm just some guy saying,
Hey,
there's
I'm that guy from Turtle Rock. Listen to me. This
no,
is
no,
what
yeah.
do.
Well, no, that's not what you want to do, because you want, you know, when you're out there playing, you want to hear honest feedback.
Yeah.
And so that's what you don't do. You don't announce yourself.
Just sat in your living room with a baseball cap and sunglasses on,
Yeah.
so they don't recognise you. Yeah.
So, anyways, so you know, I would just like call out, yeah, hey, there's a tyrant over here, be careful, and I would see guys peel away, or you know, I would just let people know what I was doing, and you know, we did pretty good. And then at one point, somebody hopped out, and another guy jumped in, and he had his voice communication on, and just the two of us communicating, you know, was like a huge improvement. We ended up beating that monster that had been kind of stomping us one match after the other. So, I mean, it is a game, you know, cooperation takes communication. We sort of encourage people to, like, you know, let down that sort of veil of anonymity a little bit and, you know, get in there and talk to each other. Because I think, not only, you know, because it, you know, makes it sort of easier to be successful against the monster, but also because I think that's a great way to sort of expand your friends list. Anyone that I played with that, you know, was, you know, communicative and a good sort of team member, it's a friend.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, I would just say I would encourage people to use communication if they can. If they, you know, and if they can't, I mean, we've got the sort of like the little ping system, you know, where people can sort of, you know,
rapid fire pinging.
Yeah, well,
was something I remember from like a little playtest.
Yeah, that means monster, right? we're sort of developing this sort of unspoken rules about what, you know, the certain kinds of pings mean, and if you're blink, 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 that means he sees the monster. Right?
Yeah, that's Morse code, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really going to be a game that's, I feel personally, it's going to be a game that's best played with friends, maybe even in a party of 5, so you don't even have to go through any of that matchmaking.
Possibly. I mean, I think everyone's different. I think you can still have a lot of fun, you know, just playing it, you know, in pubs, but certainly, you know, I mean, the same was with Left 4 Dead, you know, I mean, the option exists for you to sort of craft or, again, create your own game experience, and if part of that means, you know, hey, I got 5 friends, and I know I'm going to have fun with them, then go for it. That's more power to you.
Yeah, cool. An important part of the game, I mean, you don't really have this grand story, it's all very much this hunter versus monster, and you've got different game modes, and like, it's interesting that you do have still that kind of educational element to teach people the game mode through the single player evacuation campaign. Was that something where you thought we need to have this all the way through, or was that something where you realised that you needed that in the mix?
Well, I think evacuation mode came out of that sort of desire for, hey, we want to do something a little more beefy tonight, right? So, like, I can just jump in and I can just play, you know, 1 round or 2 rounds or whatever. But hey, what if we want to do, you know, hey, let's play evacuation tonight. Yeah, we'll do, you know, a whole thing, right? It was kind of similar to like our Left 4 Dead days when, you know, you'd play a campaign, right? And it would run through all 4 maps, and you sort of had that implied narrative, you know, of you know, going from point A to point B and escaping and all that. And that's sort of where evacuation mode comes in. Now, and that was sort of our intent, right? It's like, okay, this is just something a little more beefy, so, you know, a bunch of guys can sort of do something, you know, they want to have a night of gaming, and they, you know, they can jump in there, and there's sort of lots of variations. Each map has sort of win-loss scenarios. And, you know, in addition to, like, all the maps and all the characters, all the monsters, you know, somebody did the math and it was like 800,000 possible combinations, right? Ridiculous amount.
That would have been a long session sat with the calculator.
Yeah, no, I don't know how they figured it out, but, you know, I'm taking their word for it as one of our guys, and he's not a dum-dum, so.
I'm sure we'll be glad to hear that.
So yeah, lots of variation there. I mean, the nice thing about everything in our game is we sort of designed it to be played, you know, with your friends, with as many people as you have available to you, by yourself if that's what you prefer. And so, I mean, that kind of covers it.
Yeah. Last like real topic before I ask you the silly questions is like do you think it's been difficult to handle having, because the delay was quite late, just before release.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's been difficult to like have like 2 marketing campaigns running up to separate dates and like get the expectation back and get people intrigued again?
Yeah, well, I don't think, I mean, at the point where we had, sort of decided, okay, we need to push out, I don't think that we'd had a marketing campaign up to that point, but it wasn't really sort of hitting things real hard. And so, no, I mean, I don't know, I mean, within the studio, we got our heads down, right, and we're like, okay, we're going to push it out, it needs a little bit more time for some polish, and we put our heads down and we do it, right, and any sort of, like, time that the game pops up in, media or whatever, it's like, hey, cool, people talking about the game. So, it sounds kind of like simplistic and childlike in a way, and maybe it is, it's just like, hey, people talking about our game, that's cool. So, for us, no, but I'm sure, the guys on the marketing team might have a different answer, they're much sort of closer and intimate with the whole process.
Yeah, cool. Alright, so, the slightly silly questions. You might not want to answer it, but what is your favourite monster? What do you always go play as?
Kraken.
And why do you think that's your favourite?
A couple people have asked me this question, and basically, my 44-year-old gaming reflexes aren't what they used to be. So my like Goliath kind of takes a real sort of quick hand to be sort of mixed up with the hunters. You gotta, and I just like fall apart, in terms of my skills. I like Kraken because he's kind of he kind of likes to hang back and sort of take in everything and sort of drop death, like that. And that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not like an expert Kraken player. I'm more sort of inclined for the co-op side. But if I have a monster to choose, I go Kraken.
Yeah, and then on the co-op side, who and what class do you play as?
Yeah, if it's available, I'll take Assault because I just sort of like that straightforward. Like
that's kind of the opposite. That's like getting straight into the mix.
I know. Well, it is kind of weird, huh?
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, it's just the most straightforward because the hunters. That's kind of a different game, right? As a hunter, you're always thinking about what your job is versus doing damage to the monster. And so, if my job is just doing damage to the monster, I'm kind of like killing 2 birds with one stone.
You've only got one thing to think about.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, I was the guy in Left 4 Dead that would like, stand there with the auto shotty and just lay into the tank, hoping that he would like fall at my feet. And so that type of gameplay, I think, just sort of appeals to me. Hyde is my favorite character. I like that he's just sort of a crass, angry, brutish thug.
Yeah.
He's a lot of personality there. I think Bucket's probably my second favorite, just because of all the characters. The robot seems to have more personality.
And he can detach his head and fly it around.
Yeah, I mean, how cool is that? That's one of those ones where we're sitting around and we're like, okay, he's got a UAV, and how we do that, and it's just like someone's like, what if he could just like pull his head off and fly around? And we all laugh, ha ha ha. No, really. Sure, why not? It works. So.
All right, well, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And I'll see you tomorrow.